Hey everyone, Matt Schultz, United Country Real Estate. So since the 2025 property tax bills have came out, I've received a lot of calls from past clients asking why their property assessments have increased so much. So I decided for this month's edition of Smartland, I wanted to explain how rising real estate values translate into higher local property taxes. Most people think that property values increase because of inflationary factors in the economy, interest rates, buyer activity, buyer competition, and those are all part of the story. But there's a key factor that a lot of people don't think about and don't really understand that plays a huge role in this, even bigger than some of those other ones, and that's cash and how much cash is in the market with cash buyers. So why cash matters is because if a sale is purchased, or a property rather is purchased using financing versus cash, those finance transactions come with a gatekeeper, the appraisal. Most finance transactions are going to be subject to an appraisal. The banks want to see that appraisal because they need to make sure that the loan that they're giving out, which is an investment in that individual and that property, mitigates the risk for them. Okay. And the only way that they can mitigate the risk is to know with certainty, or with as much certainty as possible, that that property has the value that the purchase price was agreed upon. So the appraisal is ordered. And if the appraisal does not come out, meaning that the offer is higher than the appraisal, and the bank can't get the loan to value ratio that they need to minimize their risk or their potential risk on that loan, typically speaking, either the purchase price is going to be adjusted, the buyer is going to put down a larger down payment to change that loan to value ratio, or the deal is simply going to fall apart. So you see, anytime that a real estate transaction is subject to an appraisal, the appraisal is looking backwards at past comparable sales and essentially acts as almost like an anchor on value appreciation, because it has to match up, or the property's characteristics and the value have to match up with something that was purchased in the past. Okay. So the reason why cash is different is because cash buyers don't have that appraisal restriction. Now, occasionally we'll see a cash buyer that has a contingency of an appraisal, but they don't necessarily need to follow it the same way that the bank is going to mandate that it's followed. And so because cash buyers don't typically have that appraisal contingency and that restriction, there's no ceiling on what they can pay for that property. So if a buyer is willing to pay above the recent comparable sales price for a particular property, and the seller agrees to that price in those terms, that transaction, that sale is going to close. Okay. That higher sale, that's higher than the other recent past comps that were maybe subject to appraisal, that's now going to be part of that data set for future appraisals, and then ultimately future municipal assessments on your property tax statements. So over time, these higher cash sales push assessed values upwards. They expand the taxable base. That's how rising property values can increase property tax bills. So as you see more cash in the market, typically we see higher buyer demand, we see higher, faster price appreciation, which leads to assessors increasing the assessments on property, because you're changing the base at what those properties are worth. So a market with strong cash activity and limited inventory, you're often going to see both property values and your taxes increase, unfortunately. So if you own property, it's important to be aware of these factors. As they change, it will affect you financially. If you think it might be time to sell your property because the real estate values are high and your taxes are getting higher by the year, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. If you're not interested in selling your property and you own land and you're interested in some tax saving strategies that can save you money on an annual basis, give me a call and I'd be happy to talk to you about those as well. And we can see if they're a good fit for you. So I hope you found this information on how real estate market values ultimately increase your, or kind of influence your property tax statement. And I'll see you next month on Smartland. Thank you and have a good day.